Classic Country, AM 600 KSJB. Charlie Daniels right there for you at 2:30. That means one thing here on this Wednesday. It's time now for the Bison Beat.
It's time for the Bison Beat with KSJB Sports Director Kyle Dean and voice of the Bison, Jeff Culhane. Brought to you by First Class Aviation Maintenance and Flight School and FTC of Lisbon, North Dakota. Now, here's Kyle Dean and Jeff Culhane.
All right, in for Kyle today. My name is Jarrett. Kyle and his wife welcomed a new little baby into their household, so congratulations to them. And I am in with Jeff Culhane here this afternoon. Jeff, how are you this afternoon?
Jarrett, doing good. Want to congratulate Kyle and his wife on the new addition to the family. And guys got a lot of snow, so probably the smart move. Not trying to rush out of the hospital with a newborn. So
yeah, I think you and I can handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. So good thinking there by Kyle, and congratulations to their family. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. That's for sure. And, of course, NDSU with a trip to the quarterfinals. It seems maybe we've hit the repeat button, which is fine by me.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this time of year is so much fun. And you also hit the repeat button as well with the matchup on Saturday with South Dakota State coming back to town. And there's just a different energy around the Fargo Dome right now. We're actually here conducting player interviews and talking with the team as they prepare and get ready for the matchup at 11 a.m. on Saturday with the Jackrabbits. So you're absolutely right. This is a big-time setting. It's on a national stage with ESPN on Saturday with an 11 a.m. kickoff. So I know they're fired up. I'm fired up. I can't wait to get this going. It should be an amazing atmosphere at the Fargo Dome.
You know, over the last few weeks since that loss that they had to South Dakota State, NDSU has really taken care of business. It's kind of almost been a different team since that loss.
Well, I think offensively they're getting healthy at the right time. You know, finally getting Bruce Anderson back. Eric Perkins is back. I know Darius Shepard missed the last week, but he should be, I would think, okay to play on Saturday. So this is a team that prides itself on running the football, that prides itself on controlling the tempo and time of possession. The offensive line has played so well all season long. And now you have all four of your running backs back all at the same time, and you got your quarterback, Easton Stick, who's playing his best football perhaps of the season at the right time as well, the way he's running the football and how efficient he is throwing the football as well. So offensively, this team is clicking on all cylinders, I feel like, and go back to Saturday versus San Diego in the 45-7 win. I think this team perhaps played its most complete game of the year.
Yeah, Easton had quite the game in the air and on the ground, and talk about his performance there from this last weekend.
Well, he's just so efficient. I mean, the guy was the leading rusher on this team, 4 carries for 99 yards, cracked off a 52-yarder, which was season-long this year. And the way he's throwing the football, just right now very efficient. He's making the right decisions. He is not turning the football over, and he threw 3 touchdown passes on Saturday, which tied an NDSU single-game postseason record. So when he's playing well and he's really clicking on all cylinders and making good decisions and taking care of the football, North Dakota State's a tough team to beat because eventually this is going to be an offensive line that wears down the opposing front and does it all the right way and getting it done moving the football.
Yeah, I was going to say, the skill position players, they always seem to be in the limelight and those things, but it all starts with those guys up front, and they have certainly come together over this season.
Well, that's what this program prides itself on. I mean, the offensive line, the defensive line, the way they control the tempo, the way they dictate the time of possession. I think this Bison offensive front has some future pros on that side of the ball. I mean, Zach Johnson at left guard has been fantastic. Jack Plankers at right guard, Landon Leckler at right tackle. All of those guys have been just tremendous, and not to mention Austin Coonert and Colin Connor as well. This is a group that wants to move you. They want to wear you down. You go back to the Iowa game back in week number 3. where they had time of possession of nearly 11 minutes in the fourth quarter in that win at Iowa. So you're absolutely right. It all starts up front, and that's going to be a huge part of this game this weekend.
Now, coming into the second round versus San Diego, maybe it was just me, but the talk was how tough and how dynamic of a team San Diego was. I mean, they had a pretty good record coming in, but NDSU just kind of ran them over. What did you see during the game that kind of made NDSU so tough to play against?
Well, I think, you're right, Jared. I think San Diego impressed me in a lot of ways. They were very talented. I think San Diego is a team that would be around the middle of the pack in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And so, they've got some talented players. I like their running back, Jonah Hodges. I like their tight end, Ross Dwelly. I think their quarterback, Anthony Lawrence, has done a very good job as well. So, San Diego impressed me. They've got a very good head coach in Dale Lindsay, a good coaching staff, very disciplined. But I thought the Bison really wore them down as the game went along and popped some big plays. They had some explosive plays on offense, and then defensively, when you hold a team that averages 38 points per game to just 7, that bodes very well for you. So I thought the Bison played some of their best football, and you can't beat that happening right to start the postseason, making it happen at the right time.
Here with Jeff Culhane, voice of the Bison on Classic Country, AM 600 KSJB. South Dakota State University, they took on Villanova, and I would have to say, just looking at the score, I mean, that was kind of a scare for SDSU.
Well, you're absolutely right, and part of that, I think, the conditions in Brookings were not very good. It was windier. It was definitely snowier than I think what people were expecting. And you couple that with the fact Villanova is a pretty good football team. Villanova defensively, under their head coach Andy Talley, they run a unique scheme, and they definitely made life tough on South Dakota State. They only allowed 195 yards of total offense to the Jackrabbits in that game. But one thing about SDSU, they don't turn the football over often, and they don't make many mental mistakes. They played pretty clean football. They did that, and they made one more play with a 40-yard field goal from Chase Vinatieri to win that game on Saturday. So it was definitely a dogfight. Give Villanova a lot of credit. They played hard. They got after it. But South Dakota State made one more play to get the win.
Well, we'll set the scene coming up here on Saturday. Also, December is a recruiting time and those kind of things. We'll talk maybe a little bit about that and maybe some pro Bison when we return here on the Bison Beat with voice of the Bison, Jeff Culhane. I'm Jared Stevens. It's brought to you in part by First Class Aviation and Hefty Seed.
Did you ever look to the skies and dream of flying an airplane? Quit dreaming and contact First Class Aviation to schedule your discovery flight, where a first class instructor will take you up in one of their airplanes. Call 952-1515, 952-1515. Aircraft maintenance is also available. Just call to schedule your aircraft. And they offer aircraft rental too. Owners are NDSU Bison team makers at First Class Aviation, Flight School, and Aircraft Maintenance at Jamestown Airport. Go Bison!
Don't give up on your soybeans too early. Hi, I'm Darren Hefty with Hefty Seed Company. Far too often we see yield left on the table because either the growing season just wore people down or they simply were tired of spending more money. If a $5 investment turned into $10 to $40 in a month, would you do it? To find these opportunities, keep scouting your fields all the way until the soybeans start to turn yellow. There's a potential for a very nice crop. Don't leave yield on the table by giving up on your soybeans too early. Call 1-800-27-HEFTY for the answers to your agronomic questions.
And welcome back to the Bison Beat. I'm Jared Stevens in for Kyle Dean, and we are here with the voice of the Bison, Jeff Culhane, this afternoon. And we're setting the stage for this upcoming weekend's game versus South Dakota State. We'll also talk about some recruiting. And Jeff, I have to think that after that loss to South Dakota State, this game, if it was going to happen, would have been one of those ones that the guys all circled. And you can certainly. I was listening to the radio show that you guys do on Monday, and there's certainly a focus there, isn't there?
Oh, no question, Jarrett. I mean, there's no doubt about that. This group does such a great job of treating each week the same. The culture here is unlike anything I've ever seen. They know what it takes to get the job done. But this one, there's not a whole lot you have to say for to get this group ready to go to play South Dakota State again. They're going to treat it like the next opponent. They're going to treat it like it is the national championship game, the way they do each and every week. But human nature takes over at some point in time. They remember the game. They know what happened. They know what's on the line. And I think they're extremely excited to have another chance to play South Dakota State again here in the postseason.
All right, so what do the Bison have to do to get the victory to advance to the semifinals?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of layers to that. You go back to that first game, and one of the things offensively they didn't do very well in the fourth quarter was stay on the field. They've got to do a lot better job of converting on third down. They've got to be able to take advantage of opportunities when they are presented to them. And if Easton Stick, like we said earlier, if Easton continues to play the way he has and is efficient and throws the football well and on time and makes great decisions, this Bison team is really tough to beat. Conversely, with South Dakota State, slowing down Jake Winicky and Dallas Goddard is always a lot easier said than done. And I thought NDSU did a good job of that in game number one. There weren't explosive plays made by those two guys. They did catch a nice number of passes in that game, but there weren't any huge plays that were made by those two guys. So you continue to do what you do. The third part to it is you have to corral Taron Christian, their quarterback, much better than what you did in the first game. He ran for over 100 yards. He was used in the quarterback run game. If you're able to corral him, it makes their offense less dynamic.
Well, we're looking forward to that game. That's, again, coming up Saturday at 11 o'clock all across the Bison Radio Network. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit before we let you go here today, Jeff, about recruiting. I mean, the Bison, they're so used to playing in the month of December that December is really a hot time for college recruiting. How does Coach Kleiman and the assistant coaches, how do they balance getting ready for a big game coming up on Saturday and still maintain their recruiting competitiveness?
Yeah, Jared, it's a great question. And Chris Kleiman has talked about this at different times. It's great to be playing this time of year, but conversely, it does make it tough in the recruiting aspect of it, because everybody else right now, for the most part, is out there recruiting. They're out there face-to-face with high school student-athletes, with parents. They're developing the relationships. And don't get me wrong, look, winning is huge.
Yeah,
and
of course.
The dynasty and the championships are important, but when you're not able to get out and get in the homes of student athletes like other programs are that we're competing for the best football players against, it does make it challenging. So there's a fine line you walk there. You definitely tell those guys that, hey, just because we're not there, we're thinking about you. We want you to be that next champion in our football program. We've got to take care of some business on the field right now. And I think people obviously understand that. But it does get used against the Bison from time to time. Hey, they're not here. They're not worried about you. I think that's the battle that the coaching staff faces this time of year.
Well, they're certainly getting the exposure on ESPN, and you win 5 championships in a row, and you're on your quest for number 6. I mean, people start talking about you.
Well, they've been talking about the Bison. There's no question. And you ask any football fan around the country, you can ask Alabama football fans. They definitely know who North Dakota State is. There's no question about it.
All right, Jeff, before we let you go, just set the scene for this Saturday's game in Fargo.
Yeah, can't wait. It's going to be electric at the Fargo Dome, and I encourage everybody to tune in. I encourage everybody to listen right here on KSJB. Our coverage begins at 10:30, kickoff at 11 a.m., the rematch with North Dakota State and South Dakota State.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you very much for your time today. We'll let you get back to it. Look forward to the call on Saturday. And by the way, you do an excellent job as the voice of the Bison. It's a great addition to our team.
Jared, thanks so much. Appreciate the kind words, and we'll talk next week. All
right. Sounds good. That's voice of the Bison, Jeff Culhane. And this has been the Bison Beat right here on Classic Country, AM 600 KSJB. 2:45 is the time. It's brought to you in part by First Class Aviation and Hefty Seeds.